Let me tell you something about the quiet war we all fight. It's not against the world. It's not against time. It's against the voice inside that says, wait until you feel like it. That voice, it's the thief of every dream you've ever had. And unless you learn to silence it with consistent action, you'll spend your life mistaking motion for progress and comfort for peace. You see, success doesn't shout. It whispers through daily habits, through ordinary days, through unseen effort. And the question is, can you listen closely enough to hear it? You know, I used to think that success was about those big leaps. You know, those once in a while moments where everything lines up, the stars, the energy, the motivation, and you push hard for a day, a week, maybe a month. But life taught me otherwise. Wealth, health, character, they're not built in bursts. They're built in rhythm. See, anyone can get excited and sprint for a while. The marketplace is full of people who light up like a firecracker and then disappear like smoke. I remember early in my career, I met a gentleman who made a big fuss about starting a new venture. He rented the nicest office in town, printed fancy brochures, held a big launch party, you name it. But 6 months later, he was gone. Why? Because he brought intensity to the start, but never mastered consistency for the long haul. And the long haul, that's where the harvest is. Here's the truth. A man who invests $10 every day with discipline will always outperform the man who throws $1,000 in the pot once a year and forgets about it. The soil doesn't care how loud you shout your intentions. It only rewards the hand that shows up daily to plant, to water, to tend. That's how wealth works. That's how character works. You don't become wise by reading 20 books in 1 week. You become wise by reading 10 pages a day for years. You don't build a strong body by doing a 5-hour workout on the 1st of January. You build it by showing up every morning when it's dark and no one's watching. The extraordinary is always built by doing the ordinary with excellence over and over. One of the greatest illusions is thinking that intensity will carry you. Intensity impresses, but consistency earns. The applause might come from the dramatic, but the rewards, they come from the deliberate. So if you want to build something real, wealth, discipline, freedom, don't just ask how hard you can go, ask how long you can stay. Because the prize doesn't go to the one who starts the loudest, it goes to the one who stays the longest. Most people live their life waiting for the feeling to arrive before they take the action. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that motion doesn't follow mood. Motion creates mood. See, the problem with living based on emotion is that feelings are like the weather. They shift, they swing, they surprise you. One day you're motivated, the next you're not. If your activity depends on how you feel, you'll never get far. And if you try to build wealth that way, you'll find yourself rich in excuses, but poor in results. Years ago, I had a goal to increase my income, but more importantly, to increase my capacity. And I realized I couldn't wait until I felt like making those extra calls, or reading that next chapter, or reviewing my goals again. I had to move first. I had to train myself to act my way into feeling, not feel my way into acting. And once I did, momentum started to build. You know how it is? Once you make that first call, the second is easier. Once you start the jog, your energy rises. But if you sit around waiting for the mood, the hours slip, the day's gone, and you're still sitting with your good intentions. One of my mentors used to say, the body in motion stays in motion. He borrowed that from Newton, but it applies just as well to achievement. You take a step, and that step leads to another. And when your feet move, your mind follows. Want to change how you feel about your work? Start working. Want to feel better about your finances? Start budgeting. Start saving. Want to feel healthier? Go for the walk. Action first, mood second. We're not machines, but we are creatures of momentum. The more you train yourself to move, no matter the mood, the more you gain power over your life. You stop being a victim of how you feel and start becoming the architect of your days. So if you're stuck, don't wait, just move. Even a small action taken with clarity beats the biggest feeling left unused. Motivation is a firework, bright, exciting, but fleeting. It bursts high in the sky and then disappears, leaving you standing in the dark, wondering where it went. I've seen many people start their journey fueled by motivation, only to fade away when the initial spark dies. But discipline, that's a different story. Discipline is the steady flame that burns through storms, through fatigue, through distraction. It's the quiet force that carries you when motivation has gone to sleep. In my early days, I would sometimes wake up tired, uninspired, and ready to put off the day's work. But I learned a truth that changed everything. Discipline is the habit of doing what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. It's the choice to show up when your emotions tell you to quit. It's the daily commitment to yourself and your goals that builds character and wealth over time. Most people believe that setting big goals will somehow lift them up, as if reaching higher will suddenly make them better. But the truth I've learned is quite the opposite. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your standards. If your standards are low, no goal, no matter how grand, will save you from falling short. It's your daily standards, your habits, your personal expectations that determine your trajectory. I remember when I first started teaching others about success, I met many who talked about their dreams but didn't hold themselves accountable to small, consistent behaviors. They wanted wealth, but allowed themselves to be late, disorganized, or inconsistent. They aimed for financial freedom, but tolerated small debts or unchecked spending. Their goals were high, but their standards were low. And so their results reflected that. Think about wealth like a garden. You might dream of a harvest of fruits, but if you water your plants only when you feel like it, if you don't pull the weeds or tend the soil regularly, your garden will wither. The harvest is the result of what you consistently allow in your daily life. Your standards are the invisible gatekeepers of your success. When you raise your standards, you set the floor beneath your goals. You make success the only option. In my own life, I learned to hold myself to high standards in simple things, showing up on time, keeping my word, managing money wisely. Those small decisions built the foundation that carried me through bigger challenges. When you fall short, it's not because your goal was too big. It's because your standard was too small. So don't just chase goals. Build standards so solid they carry you even when your motivation falters. Your standards create the environment where your goals become inevitable. In the end, success is less about aiming high and more about living true. There's a powerful truth that many overlook. Your identity is not some fixed thing you're born with. It's forged, shaped, and built through repetition. Every habit you practice, every decision you make, every action you take writes the story of who you are becoming. It's not what you say about yourself once in a while that matters, but what you do consistently, day after day. I once knew a young man who dreamed of becoming financially independent. He talked about it constantly, but lacked the daily discipline to manage his expenses or invest his earnings. Over time, his words didn't match his actions, and his identity reflected that inconsistency. You see, the world doesn't respond to your declarations. It responds to your behaviors. Think of a sculptor shaping a statue. Each chip, each stroke seems small and insignificant alone, but over time, they create a masterpiece. So it is with your life. The repeated act of saving a little money, reading a few pages every day, making a sales call, or practicing a skill, these small, consistent efforts shape your identity as a disciplined investor, a lifelong learner, a diligent entrepreneur. I remember when I first began speaking publicly, it was uncomfortable and unfamiliar. But I committed to practicing regularly, even when I felt uncertain. That repetition shaped me into the speaker and teacher I became. It's not talent alone, it's the daily commitment to show up and do the work that defines who you are. Don't underestimate the power of repetition. The habits you perform today are the building blocks of your future self. Every time you honor your word to yourself, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. Identity isn't a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice and action repeated over time. Keep shaping yourself, because that identity is the foundation for all lasting success. One of the toughest lessons in life is learning to trust the process, especially when you see no immediate proof of progress. It's easy to get discouraged when the scale doesn't budge, the bank account doesn't grow overnight, or the results of your hard work seem invisible. But the absence of proof does not mean absence of progress. Often, the most important growth happens beneath the surface, quiet, slow, and unseen. Early in my journey, I struggled with this. I'd spend hours reading, planning, and working, yet my results didn't reflect the effort I poured in. I was tempted to quit, thinking I must be doing something wrong. But a mentor reminded me, the bamboo tree spends years growing its roots underground before it shoots up 60 feet in 6 weeks. That image stuck with me. Progress is not always immediate or obvious. Sometimes you're building a foundation before the visible success appears. Think about wealth building. No one becomes wealthy from a single payday. It's the steady saving, the patient investing, the discipline to live below your means, day after day, month after month, year after year. That slow accumulation, invisible to the eye, is what creates lasting abundance. And in the meantime, you may feel like you're standing still, but in reality, you're moving forward. The same is true in personal growth. Reading 1 page a day, making 1 extra call, taking 1 more step forward. These small acts compound. Even when the world can't see it, your character is expanding, your skills are sharpening, and your confidence is building. So don't wait for visible proof to keep going. Faith in your process is a hallmark of those who achieve lasting success. Progress without proof is still progress. Trust the quiet work you do today. The harvest always comes, but only to those who patiently plant and tend their field. Keep going, even when it feels like nothing is changing, because change is happening beneath the surface. There's a common trap that many fall into, waiting for the perfect feeling before they take action. They chase emotion, hoping motivation will come flooding in like a sudden wave that sweeps them forward. But the truth is, emotion is fickle. It rises and falls like the tide, unpredictable and unreliable. If you wait on emotion, you'll find yourself stuck in a cycle of starts and stops, chasing feelings instead of results. What you need is rhythm, a steady, reliable beat that carries you forward, whether you feel inspired or not. Rhythm is the pulse of consistent action. It's what separates those who achieve lasting success from those who only dabble. I learned this early in my career when I realized that waiting for motivation to strike was costing me more than I could afford. Instead, I committed to building a routine, a rhythm that didn't depend on how I felt, but on what needed to be done. Think of a clock. It doesn't speed up when it's exciting or slow down when it's boring. It keeps moving steadily, second by second. That's rhythm. When you build a rhythm in your work, your habits become automatic. You move forward because it's what you do, not because you have a sudden burst of emotion. In wealth building, rhythm means showing up to invest regularly, no matter the market's mood. In personal growth, it means reading or practicing daily, even when your mind resists. Over time, this rhythm creates momentum, and momentum builds confidence. You no longer need to summon emotion to act, you're already moving. The key is not to wait for the mood, but to cultivate the rhythm. This steady, disciplined beat will carry you through the dull days and the difficult ones. Don't chase emotion, build rhythm. Because it's the rhythm that turns small actions into a powerful symphony of success. As we come to the close of this conversation, remember this. The power to transform your life isn't found in grand gestures or sudden bursts of inspiration. It's found in the quiet, steady steps you take every single day, the consistent actions that build your future one moment at a time. Success is less about fireworks and more about the slow-burning flame that refuses to go out. That flame is discipline, rhythm, and the commitment to show up even when the mood isn't right and the results aren't yet visible. You don't need to wait for motivation to strike or for the perfect conditions to appear. The time to begin is now with whatever you have, wherever you are. Start small, start steady, and let momentum carry you forward. Remember, it's not the intensity of your start that matters most, but the persistence of your journey. So here's my challenge to you. Decide today that you will no longer be a slave to fleeting feelings or distractions. Decide that you will honor your commitments, build your standards, and trust the process of consistent action. Your future self is counting on the choices you make right now. Take that first step. Keep moving. Because the life you want is built one consistent action at a time.